A cold silence filled the dark side of the asteroid field. Stars blinked in the distance like dying candles. The space around the old mining ship Echo 7 was still. Too still. It floated without movement, without life, as if something inside had taken its last breath and never exhaled. 3 days ago, the Echo 7 sent a distress signal to Central Command. The message came through broken and weak, full of static and panic. No one could make out the full message except for the last line. It repeated 3 times before the signal ended. "We found something. It's waking up. Please don't come. Please don't come. Please." That was enough to send Orion Dawn, a rescue and research ship with a crew of 7. Captain Elias Reyes had seen strange things in space before. Ships lost, crews vanished, monsters hiding in systems. With no names. But this signal, this one felt different. As the Orion Dawn moved closer to the asteroid belt, the crew grew quiet. The usual jokes were gone. No one laughed. Even the ship itself seemed slower, like it didn't want to go any further. The stars outside the window looked pale. Captain Reyes stood at the front window, staring into the black. His second-in-command, Mason, stepped beside him and whispered, "We're close." The Echo 7 appeared from the shadows like a ghost. Lights flickered across its surface. No movement, no answers to hails. But power was still running. The docking bay lights blinked, as if the ship was waiting for them. Reyes gave the order to dock. The docking tunnel hissed open with a cold breath. The air inside Echo 7 was thick and stale. It smelled like burnt metal and something else, something wet and rotting. The crew of Orion Dawn stepped inside carefully, suits on, weapons ready. Flashlights cut through the darkness. The halls were empty. No bodies, no sounds. Just long stretches of silence and flickering lights. Reyes led the way, passing walls covered in deep scratches. One of the engineers, Torres, pointed at something. Ahead, a wall panel was ripped open, bloody handprints smeared across the metal, and carved over and over again like someone had done it with shaking hands were the words, "It's not them anymore." Mason swallowed hard. What does that mean? Nobody answered. They moved deeper inside the ship, finding signs of a fight, broken. Tools, scattered food trays, overturned chairs, but still no bodies. Reyes ordered a split search. Half would check the command deck, the rest would head to the cargo bay. The crew didn't like the idea, but followed orders. On the command deck, the logs were still running. Reyes played the last recorded entry. A tired voice spoke. Dr. Lennox, the science officer of Echo 7. "We brought it back from the asteroid." "A black crystal, like glass, but alive. It pulses like a heart. We thought it was dead. We were wrong. It speaks when you sleep. It shows you things, beautiful things, but it lies. It lies. They're not human anymore." The video cut off. At the same time, the other half of the crew reached the cargo bay. Inside, they found the object, locked inside a containment tube. The black crystal sat still, but something about it felt wrong. Its surface shimmered like it was breathing. One of the crew, Sarah, stared at it too long. Her voice was barely a whisper. "I can hear it." "Back away," shouted Torres. But Sarah didn't move. Then, a noise, a loud bang from the far wall. Everyone turned. A storage locker was shaking violently. Something was inside. Reyes was called to the scene immediately. Guns raised, the crew opened the locker. Inside, they found a man. Skin pale, lips blue, and eyes black. Not dark, but pure black like pools of oil. He didn't speak at first, just stared at them with an empty face. His uniform had a name tag, Officer Harlan. He was part of Echo 7's crew. Reyes knelt beside him. "What happened here?" Harlan blinked slowly. His voice came out dry and cracked. "We touched it. We let it in. It's inside now. It knows you're here." Then his body began to shake. Before they could react, Harlan screamed. His bones cracked, muscles twisted. His mouth opened wider than it should, like his jaw unhinged. His voice turned into a deep growl that echoed down the halls. He attacked. The crew fired. Sparks flew. Harlan was faster than he should have been. Stronger. He threw Mason across the room like a rag doll. But finally, Torres hit him with a stun blast. The creature dropped. Breathing heavily, the crew locked the body inside a medical pod. "He's not human," whispered Reyes. "Not anymore." No one argued. Back in the command center, the black crystal began to glow softly. It pulsed once, twice. Then, silence. Far away, outside the ship, something in the asteroid field opened its eyes. The lights on Echo 7 flickered again. The power systems were failing, or something was playing with them. No one said it, but they all felt it. Something was watching. Not through cameras, not from the shadows, from everywhere, from inside. "Captain," Reyes stared at the black crystal locked in the containment chamber. Even with the thick glass between them, it made his skin crawl. It didn't look dangerous, but there was something wrong about it. It pulsed slowly, like a living thing. Like a heart. Every pulse was followed by a quiet hum, low and soft, just on the edge of hearing. Too soft to catch, too loud to ignore. Sarah hadn't spoken since she stared into it. She just followed the others, eyes distant, lips barely moving as if she was whispering to herself. Torres and Mason checked the security logs. Hours of footage showed the Echo 7 crew growing stranger each day after bringing the crystal aboard. At first, everything looked normal. The crew laughed, ate, worked. But soon, things changed. People began staring at walls. Some were caught standing motionless for hours. One engineer was seen whispering to the crystal, even when no one else was in the room. The last few videos were terrifying. Crew members, moving in the dark with strange speed. A scientist slamming his head against the floor over and over again. And in one silent recording, the ship's captain, eyes black, speaking into the camera. "We are not alone anymore. We are more now. We are free." The video ended with static. Reyes ordered everyone to stay together. No more splitting up. "We find out what happened. We shut it down. And we leave," he said. But the ship had other plans. As they walked toward the engine room, the lights went out completely. Emergency lights came on, painting everything red. Shadows moved fast across the walls. Too fast. Then came the noise, a scraping sound. Slow, like nails running across metal. Then whispering. At first soft, then louder. A dozen voices overlapping. "Come closer. You are almost ready. Let us in. Let us in." Reyes looked around. "Is everyone hearing this?" No one answered, because Sarah was gone. They turned around. She had been right behind them seconds ago. They searched quickly, calling her name. No reply. The whispers got louder, then vanished all at once. Silence returned, heavier than before. Torres pulled up the tracking device. Each crew member had a small chip to show location. Sarah's chip was still active, but it showed her deep inside the ship, near the asteroid sample lab. "No one goes. Alone," Reyes said. "We get her, and we leave. That's it." As they reached the lab, the door was already open. Inside was cold. The lights were off. The crystal glowed faintly in its case. And there, standing in front of it, was Sarah, her eyes were closed. Her hands floated near the glass, not touching, just feeling. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Reyes stepped forward. "Sarah, step back. Now." She didn't move. He shouted again. Then her eyes opened. They were black, but only for a second. Then they returned to normal. "I'm okay," she whispered. "I'm fine. I just wanted to look at it." Reyes didn't believe her. Mason stepped in and took her arm gently. "We're going back." Sarah nodded, but her smile was wrong. Just a little too calm. They turned to leave. That's when the alarms went off. Power surge detected. Engine core locked. Manual override required. Reyes slammed the control panel. The ship had locked itself. "Someone triggered the lockdown." "No," said Torres. "Something did." They ran back to the control room. But the door was sealed shut. Inside, through the small window, they saw the worst thing yet. Officer Harlan, the man they had locked in the medical pod, was standing on the other side. Alive, awake, and smiling. His hands were on the control panel, pressing commands faster than humanly possible. His head twitched left and right. He looked through the window at them and whispered something they couldn't hear. Then the comm system came alive. "We were lost, but it found us. We were broken. Now we are whole." The voice wasn't just Harlan's. It was many voices, layered, together. Male and female, young and old, all speaking at once. "You came because you heard us. Now you will join us." The control panel near Reyes blinked. A message appeared. "Transmission sent." "What did he do?" Mason asked, stepping back. Reyes stared at the screen. "He sent a message. But not to us." "Then to who?" Torres asked. The ship shook suddenly, not from inside, from outside. Something large had moved past the window. They ran to the viewport. A shadow passed across the stars, huge and slow, like a mountain floating through space. But it had no shape, no form, just darkness wrapped in more darkness. And then, eyes. Eyes opened across its body. Hundreds. Watching. Waiting. Sarah whispered behind them, "It's here." And then she smiled. Sarah stood behind them, smiling in a strange way, like she wasn't really there anymore. Her eyes were calm, too calm. Everyone noticed, but no one said anything right away. The crew just stared through the window at the massive dark shape, floating outside the ship. It had no clear form, no wings or engines, no metal or wires. It was just alive. Its body moved like smoke and shadow, but eyes opened and closed across its surface, watching them, studying them, waiting. Captain Reyes took a step back from the window. "We need to go. Now." But the ship wasn't listening. The controls were dead, the engines were offline, the escape pod doors were sealed, and the thing inside the control room, the infected man they once knew as Officer Harlan, was still staring at them through the window, his mouth moving in slow, silent words. Sarah touched the side of her head and whispered, "It's not trying to hurt us. It's trying to show us the truth." Mason turned quickly. "What did you say?" She looked confused, like she hadn't meant to say anything at all. I don't know." Reyes didn't wait. He ordered Mason and Torres to take Sarah back to the med bay and run a full scan. She didn't argue. She just smiled again and walked quietly down the hall. As they disappeared around the corner, the lights flickered again. But this time, it wasn't random. They blinked in a pattern, on, off, on, off, over and over. Reyes turned to the ship's tech system. The signal wasn't broken. It was a message. Torres confirmed it a moment later over comms. "Morse code," he said. "The lights. It's talking to us." "What does it say?" Reyes asked. Torres paused, then read the words slowly. "You are not safe. It is already inside. Burn it all." The message repeated again. Reyes felt cold all over. If this was real, it meant something or someone was trying to fight the infection. But who? The real Harlan? Someone from the Echo 7 crew who hadn't been fully turned? Or maybe even part of the ship's AI trying to warn them. The message ended. The lights returned to normal. In the med bay, Sarah sat on the table, calm and smiling. Mason ran the scan. It showed something strange, something growing inside her brain. Not a tumor, not a virus, just something new, something alive. Moving slowly, wrapping around her thoughts. Torres looked at the screen. It's like a second brain. Before they could react, Sarah spoke. "You're all scared," she said softly. "But there's nothing to fear. The pain goes away once you stop fighting." Mason stepped back. "Sarah, do you hear the voices?" She nodded. "Yes. And soon, you will too." Suddenly, the medbay doors slammed shut. Locks hissed in place. Lights turned red. From the hallway, Reyes tried opening the doors, but nothing worked. The system had locked them out. Inside the medbay, Sarah stood slowly. The smile faded. Her face went blank. She raised her hand, and the lights flickered again. Torres pulled out his stun gun, shaking. "Sarah, don't move!" But she kept walking forward, and then she screamed, not in pain but like a siren, a loud, sharp sound that echoed through the ship, making their ears bleed. Glass cracked, machines failed, sparks flew from the walls. Reyes shouted, "Override the lockdown!" Too late. When the doors finally opened, Sarah was gone. Only her comms badge remained on the floor, still warm. Torres was unconscious, bleeding from his nose. Mason was shaking, barely able to speak. She changed. I don't know how. Her body just broke apart and melted into the walls. Reyes helped Mason stand. "We have to shut this ship down." But just then, every screen on Orion Dawn came to life. Every speaker turned on. And that voice returned, the many voices speaking, as one. "You don't understand. This is not the end. This is the beginning. We are awake. We are hungry. We are coming." Then, silence again. The ship shook, this time harder. The black crystal in the containment chamber cracked, not from the outside, from the inside. A long fracture ran down its center. A deep red glow spilled out. Then, a heartbeat. The crystal was beating. Reyes made the decision. "We destroy the crystal. Now. No more scans. No more questions. We blow it up and pray it's enough." The crew rushed to the cargo bay. Reyes armed the plasma torch. Mason set up a thermal charge. But the moment Reyes touched the crystal, he saw something. Flashes of light behind his eyes. Visions, a world covered in black glass. Skies filled with floating eyes, people walking with no faces, whole cities whispering in a dead language, and behind it all, a voice, not loud, but endless. "You are part of us now." Reyes fell back, gasping. Mason helped him up. "Captain, what did you see?" Reyes couldn't answer. But he knew one thing. The infection wasn't spreading through blood or bites. It was spreading through thought, through sound, through dreams, through memory, and worst of all, through hope. Captain Reyes sat in silence, breathing hard, trying to clear the vision from his mind. But the images were still there, like shadows burned into his thoughts. A dead world. A sky of eyes. The whispering cities. He could feel the voice in the back of his head, still calling, still waiting. Mason placed a hand on his shoulder. "Captain, we have to go." Reyes nodded slowly. Yeah, we do." They moved quickly through the dim halls of Echo 7, heading back to the control deck. Every light now had a red glow, and the ship's walls made strange sounds. Creaks, clicks, breathing. The whole place felt alive, like the infection had reached the metal itself. Doors opened and closed by themselves. Cold air moved like fingers brushing against their skin. They reached the control room and sealed the door behind them. Reyes looked around. "Where's Torres?" Mason shook his head. He didn't answer the comm. He was fixing the engine codes. "That was 15 minutes ago." Reyes cursed under his breath. They had already lost too many. Suddenly, the screen lit up with a strange message. "New host selected." The camera feed switched on by itself. A live view of Torres filled the screen. He was standing in the engine room, still, unmoving. His back was to the camera. Around him, wires hung like vines. The room flickered with emergency lights. "Torres!" Reyes shouted through the comm. No reply. Then Torres slowly turned. His face was pale, his eyes black. But something was wrong. His mouth was sewn shut with metal wire. Blood ran down his chin, yet he smiled. The screen cut out. Mason stepped back, horrified. He's gone." "No," Reyes said softly. "He's something else now." Suddenly the lights went out. All of them. Total darkness. A moment later, the emergency lights blinked once, then went red. System control, overridden. Airlocks locked. Escape pods, disabled. Voice interface activated. Then came the whisper. "You brought us a gift, Captain. A new mind. Strong. Afraid, but still curious. You make a good door." Reyes grabbed the manual override switch and forced power back to the room. Lights returned, but the whispering continued. Now it was coming from every speaker, every wall. Mason held his head, shaking. "It's in my mind. I can hear it. Inside." Reyes forced himself to focus. He opened the command logs, searching through the last entries from Echo 7's captain. Deep in the system, buried under layers of code, he found one last personal log. "We thought it was a signal, a distress call from a dead system, but it wasn't. It was bait, a mind trap. The crystal isn't a thing. It's a gate. Once you hear the message. You're already inside. We tried to destroy it. Nothing worked. Guns, fire, plasma, nothing. But then we realized it doesn't want to be destroyed. It wants to be spread. It needs someone to carry it. A host. If you're reading this, leave or kill everything. No one must escape. Not one mind. Not one soul." Reyes closed the log. Too late now. He turned to Mason. "There's only one option left. We blow both ships." Mason looked up, eyes still shaking. "We'll die. Better us than Earth." They ran toward the engine core, passing through silent halls where the infection had already taken over. The walls pulsed now, soft and slow like breathing. Strange symbols had appeared, glowing on metal, patterns they didn't recognize. Reyes didn't try to read them. He didn't want to know what they meant. They reached the core, and there, waiting for them, was Sarah. She stood in front of the control panel. Her body looked human, but her eyes were glowing white now, and something moved under her skin like tiny worms. She smiled. "Welcome back, Captain." Reyes raised his weapon. "Step away from the controls." Sarah tilted her head. "Why are you still fighting? It's peaceful. No more fear, no more pain, no more loneliness. You're not Sarah." She laughed gently. "Sarah is still here. So is Harlan. So is Torres. We're all together now. You can be too." Mason started shaking again, the whispering louder in his mind. Reyes knew they were running out of time. He fired. The plasma shot hit Sarah's chest, but she didn't fall. Her body burst into black mist and faded into the air. The lights went out again. "You can't kill the air you breathe," said the voice. "You're already breathing us in." Reyes ran to the core and slammed the manual override. He opened the self-destruct system. Mason joined him, setting the countdown. Minutes. They ran to the escape pod bay. To their surprise, one pod was active, powered on. The lock had been opened. Reyes stared at it. Trap? Mason asked. Maybe, Reyes said. Maybe a chance. They got in. The pod closed. Countdown showed 4 minutes. The pod launched. As they flew away from Echo 7 and Orion Dawn, the ship started glowing from inside. Heat building, light burning through every window. The last thing they saw before the explosion was the black crystal. Still, pulsing, still watching. Then everything exploded. Bright white light, silence, and stars. The escape pod drifted through empty space. For a long time, Captain Reyes didn't move. He just sat there, staring out of the small round window, his hands shaking. The blast from Echo 7 and Orion Dawn had filled the stars with white light. Then, nothing. No signal, no heat, no trace. The ships were gone. And maybe the thing inside them too. But something still felt wrong. Beside him, Mason stirred, groaning as he woke up. His face was pale, his lips cracked. Are we dead? He asked. Reyes gave a weak smile. Not yet. The pod's systems were half dead. Life support was working, but only just. No long-range communication, no engine power. They were floating, waiting, to be found, or waiting to die. They sat in silence for a long time. Then Mason said something that made Reyes's blood run cold. I saw her. In the fire. Just before the explosion. Sarah. She was smiling. Reyes didn't answer. He had seen her too, or something that looked like her. He stood up, checking the pod's emergency systems. There was a weak signal beacon, still active. Maybe someone would pick it up. Maybe. But deep down, Reyes wasn't sure they should be found at all. Hours passed. They didn't talk much. Every sound felt louder in the tiny pod, the slow hiss of air, the quiet clicks of the system struggling to stay alive. And then, something new. A soft tap. Mason sat up straight. Did you hear that? Reyes froze. Another tap, this time louder. From beneath the floor, tap, tap, tap. Then it stopped. Reyes opened the small hatch under the panel. Just wires and metal. Nothing there. They tried to calm down. Told themselves it was just the metal cooling, maybe a loose bolt. Nothing to worry about. But deep inside, they both knew that wasn't true. That night, if time even mattered in space, Reyes dreamed. He was back on the ship, alone, walking down endless dark halls. The walls whispered his name. Shadows moved just out of sight. Then he saw it, the black crystal, floating, glowing, beating. It spoke. You left the door open. He woke up gasping. Mason was already awake, staring at the floor. I didn't. Sleep, he said. I can still hear them. Inside my head. Reyes checked the systems again. One signal blinked on the radar. Faint. Distant. A moon, small, cold, but with a breathable atmosphere. The pod's backup thrusters could guide them down. Just one chance. They took it. The pod shook hard as it entered the moon's thin atmosphere. Clouds of dust flew past the window. The land below was gray and rocky, full of deep cracks and sharp stones. Then, impact. The pod slammed down hard, throwing them both forward. Sparks burst from the control panel. The lights died. They survived, but they were stranded. Reyes forced the door open. Cold air rushed in. The sky was dark purple, and the wind carried a soft, whisper-like sound. No sun, no stars, just clouds and dust. They stepped out slowly, wearing light gear. No sign of life, but the silence wasn't empty. Something was watching them. They found a cave nearby and set up a small fire using emergency supplies. The warmth helped, but not enough. They were both shaking, not just from the cold, but from fear. That night, the whispers returned. Mason sat by the fire, his face blank. They're not gone. Reyes looked at him. We destroyed everything. Mason shook his head slowly. No, it's not about the ships or the crystal. He turned his eyes to Reyes, eyes that were a little too dark now. It was never just a signal. It was a seed. Reyes stepped back. What do you mean? I saw it when I touched the pod window. A flash. A memory. It left something behind. In us. Just a piece. Just enough. Then he whispered, "That's how it spreads." Reyes reached for the emergency weapon at his side, but Mason just smiled. I'm not infected, Captain. Not fully. But it's inside me. Inside you, too. It's patient. It doesn't need ships, it just needs thoughts, dreams, memory. He stood up slowly, and then he said something that made Reyes want to scream. It's already speaking through the pod's beacon. Reyes ran back to the pod. Too late. The beacon light was blinking fast, the transmission was active, and the message was being sent. He read it on the screen. This is Captain Reyes of Orion Dawn. We escaped the explosion. We are safe. Please, send help. We are alone. Except Reyes never recorded that message, and the voice it was sending sounded exactly like him.